Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Lou Ferrante. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, good. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time to come on my show.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. Great beginning. Did you do that yourself with the gun?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I do all my own editing, all that stuff.
Cool. Yeah, and you're from, it said Bristol, Connecticut.
Yeah,
That's your hometown.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was away with a guy. I don't know if you ever heard of Marcos Pappas. Great guy. Did time with him in the feds. We became really close. One of my best friends. He had like a 35-year sentence. He got out after like 22 or 24. I think he ended up doing in the end. Unfortunately, he got picked up again. But Connecticut native his whole life.
Name sounds familiar. Sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah, he's old school gangster. Unfortunately, he's back in. Not sure what exactly is going on. But anyway, I'm wishing him the best. I hope it's a misunderstanding or something, or he gets out. He's a great guy. Anyway, shout out to Marcos Pappas. Great guy. He's known throughout the feds as a legal eagle. He's helped so many people get out of jail. He taught me everything I knew about the law, helped me reverse one of my cases. I became a legal eagle because of him. Taught me how to read case law, how to understand it. And I became an expert at it because of him. Great guy.
And they're helping other inmates, right? They don't like when you do that either.
Yeah, big time. A lot of times when the lawyers kind of like just sell out their clients and it happens all day long, you have nobody when you're in there. You're locked in a cell. You got no friends. You got no family sometimes. You burned all your bridges. You know, you've been away for years. Guys have different kinds of stories and they're all tragic. And a lot of times they have nobody. So they'd come to him. And eventually when I learned law, they'd come to me. You know, you're able to help somebody who's been in a mess and you get them some relief in the courts. You know, I'm not one to say everybody, everybody should be let out of jail. There's plenty of people who belong in jail. When I was there, I belonged in jail, but a lot of people don't belong there as long as they are. And that's a tragedy. So yeah, we helped a lot of people.
Yeah. If you get caught with someone's paperwork now, you get in trouble for it.
What do you mean someone's paperwork? What's that? I didn't understand.
If you have someone's paperwork in your possession,
like that's somebody that ratted?
No, legal work.
Oh, legal work. Really?
Yeah. If you get caught with someone else's legal work in your possession in prison, they put you in the hole.
So that's crazy. That's something new. So when I was in, I used to carry around people's paperwork all the time because I'd be working on their case for them. I filed briefs, everything. I would have never left the hole. That's so draconian. It's gotten worse. So they want the lawyers to sell you out, and then they don't want you to be able to get inmate help either. Crazy.
No, they want to block it every chance they get. So you have an insane story, and I wanted to know, people know about the hijacking the trucks and stealing the trucks and all that stuff. I wanted to know, when were you first ever introduced to the Gottis?
Well, I it's hard to pinpoint, but at some point or another, through a series of associations, I ended up pretty much living like I was in and out of his house every day. Peter Gotti. So John's older brother, Peter, was he's a capo at the time, eventually became the boss of the family. And now, unfortunately, he's deceased. He died in jail. He was a good guy. And he wasn't stupid. A lot of times they portray him as a dumb guy in a lot of the books and documentaries. He wasn't a dumb guy. I have to tell you, the Gottis were sharp. They were all street guys, all of them across the board. There was one maybe that wasn't the sharpest, but it wasn't Peter. Peter was sharp, and he was a smart guy, and he wasn't greedy. He let people earn. He was a good guy, and he didn't want, actually, he was good. You know, he'd sort of try to dissuade you from pursuing that route for life, but he was there for you if you needed him. So anyway, I was in and out of Pete Gotti's house just about every day for the better part of, like, I guess 6 or 7 years until I went away. So sort of, I have nothing bad to say about them that I could think of. So
Senior was in prison at this time already, right?
So John Senior was on the street when I was still on the street and in and out of that house, in and out of Peter's house, but eventually he went away.
Do you remember the first time you ever met Senior?
You'd see Senior all the time. I'm in Ozone Park every day. South Ozone Park is where the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club was. So, it wasn't like, people try to say, like, I wasn't best friends with John Senior, obviously. There was a whole world of generations apart between me and him. But you'd see him by the club. He came and went. Nobody really ever talks about it too. Fat Bob used to drive Senior around. I don't know. Nobody talks about Fat Bob ever. Fat Bob was the guy who drove Senior around, and you'd see Fat Bob pick up John in Howard Beach. You'd wave hello. You'd see him at the club. You'd wave hello. Fat Bob was the guy who drove him around every day, for the most part. But I mean, look, that was like what actually intrigued me is when I was doing my research and I saw that for my book Borgata, Rise of Empire. I saw that Gas Pipe was always looking to clip John, and he couldn't get his hit team couldn't get him. And I'm like, well, they couldn't get him. You could have killed John any day of the week. He was driving around with Fat Bob. Fat Bob was no bodyguard. He was just a big fat guy. He couldn't even get out of his seat if he tried, fast. But a nice guy. I'm not knocking Fat Bob. He was a nice guy, rest his soul. But whatever the case is, John was around. You're in the neighborhood. You see everybody. If you go into Peter Gotti's house back then, this is what nobody's ever done this. Someone should do a tour of Howard Beach. You'd make the right as soon as you came over like the Van Wyck Expressway. You'd make the right into New Howard Beach. You'd pass Vic Amuso's house, head of the Lucchese family, on the right-hand side. You make a left, you go to Peter Gotti's house. You go straight down, make another right. You got Angelo Ruggiero's house. You got Johnny Knig's house. You got Joseph Messino's house, Joe Messino, boss of the Bonanno family. They were all in New Howard Beach. All the bosses, the underbosses were all living there. So literally in one day, you could drive from one end of Howard Beach to the other and wave to everybody. Assuming you're out of jail at the time. Sometimes, these guys were away, and then you weren't waving to nobody. But in other words, they all lived right there. I'd see Joe Messino on his porch. Hey, Joe, how you doing? Joe wave. This was like what it was back then. It's like almost like it's if you driving down your own neighborhood in Bristol, Connecticut, and you wave to there's Joey, there's Frankie, it was the same thing. So it wasn't a big deal to see these people on a regular. They're around. And then John's trip from Howard Beach to the club in South Ozone Park, you might even spot him on Cross Bay Boulevard. You could pull up at a light on Cross Bay Boulevard and see him in a car. So, it's not impossible. Everybody in that area knew John. This is a true story. The day I was either eating pizza or Chinese food in Pete Gotti's living room with young Peter when Big Peter came home, and he had a long look on his face. And, we asked, what's up, Pete? And he said, Sammy went bad. And then I'll never forget it as long as I live. We were the first ones to hear, and he dragged his feet up the stairs. So in Pete's house, you'd walk in the door, and then the living room's to the left, or you could go up along the flight of stairs where the bedrooms were. Other than little Pete's, Pete Jr.'s bedroom was to the right. But I'll never forget watching him lug his body, big man, lug his body up those stairs like he had the weight of the world on top of him. And I remember I said to young Pete, I says, no way, Sammy didn't go bad. There's no way he's going to do like that Frankie Five Angels thing they did in The Godfather when he's going to rat on Michael Corleone, but then he saves him at the last minute. I go, that's what he's going to do. My mind was so mobbed up at that time that I could never have imagined somebody ratting. Like I could never rat. So, Howard, the underboss in my family, he's a tough guy, legitimate tough guy, as you understood it. I understood he was a treacherous guy. People told me that, but I didn't ever thought he was a rat. But then later, if you think about it, if you put the pieces together, if a guy would kill his friends and betray his friends and, set them up and clip them left and right, why wouldn't he take the stand and bury his other friends when he's got to save his own ass? So it basically makes sense if you look back at it. But at that time, I couldn't see that. So I was like, no way. Sammy ain't going sour. There's no way.
A lot of the times he says, oh, he was going to throw me under the bus.
Come on, man. You know what you're in. You know what you're involved in. And John wasn't throwing nobody under the bus. John had a history of going to trial with people. He didn't throw anybody under the bus. John went to trial with Willie Boy Johnson, who was a rat, and John didn't throw Willie Boy under the bus. So why is now John going to throw Sammy under the bus? Sammy was worried that the government was going to figure out that he was killing all these people on his own. And the tapes, John's complaining, going, Sammy wanted this one dead. Sammy wanted that one dead, whether it was Louis Melito or Louis DeBono. Sammy's always, making a move and killing somebody. So John's complaining. So if the jury heard that, Sammy was worried that they might convict Sammy and let John loose. But John wasn't throwing Sammy under the bus. Did John throw Frankie Lowe under the bus? No. John didn't throw Frankie Lowe under the bus. They went to trial together. Frankie Lowe wasn't thrown under the bus. They went to trial. They fought the case together. They got life together. So that's all justifying why you want to rat. No rat ever says, look, I punked out. they always got an excuse. Somebody was going to do something to me, or somebody didn't send me commissary. Somebody didn't take care of my wife. Somebody owed me a couple $100,000, didn't pay me when I need a lawyer. Somebody didn't send a lawyer up to see me. I could have made those excuses every single day of the week. And the guys I was with that stood up could have made those excuses every single day of the week. Look at the arenas. The arenas never ratted. I'm dear friends with Vic Arena Sr., who's still away doing life. And I'm dear friends with Vic Arena Jr., 35 years now. We're dear friends. That's how long we're dear friends. Both of those arenas were hunted by not only Gregory Scarpa, but the government was backing Gregory Scarpa. And supposedly the FBI agent who was handling Gregory Scarpa was given the addresses of the arenas so that he could kill them. And the arenas had every reason to go bad, and they didn't. And then let me tell you something else. I'm going to tell you, I was with Vic Arena Sr. when he wanted some discovery material to fight his case. The guy's serving life. He kept his mouth shut, never ratted. So he sends word to Junior Persico, and he says, listen, where's this discovery material that could help me with my case? And they said, well, you owe a lot of money that you got to straighten out with first before we send that to you. What? The guy's doing life. The guy's fighting for his life. So now he don't have every reason to rat if you want to make excuses, but he still didn't. He could have said, they don't even want to give me the discovery material. They're nickel and diming me over debts on the street. And he never did that. So, I mean, if you want to get technical, there's a man's man who has every reason to rat. If you want to talk about somebody throwing him under the bus, he can't get his own discovery material to fight a life sentence, and he kept his mouth shut. So, and nobody could tell me different from this because I was there for the story. This is firsthand. I was with Vic Sr. when this happened. And as I said, I'm close friends with Vic Jr., Vic Arena Jr. for 35 years now. I know the story inside out. I was there. He asked for that discovery material. He was fighting his case. He couldn't get it. That would have been Sammy's out to say, they're throwing me under the bus. They won't even give me discovery material to fight my case. And he would have ratted. But Vic Arena said, you know what? That's got nothing to do with me and with who I am. And he's in jail now. How many years is Vic? He's going to die in jail unless he gets out on some type of hardship, which he deserves. The poor man is senile. He doesn't even know who he is now. Let him out. But they won't. But whatever the case is, there's a million excuses you could give if you want to rat, or you say to yourself, you know what? Omerta is you take care of things yourself. You got a beef with John. You should have went to trial with John and then killed him in jail. Sammy could have killed him in jail if he wanted to. Sammy knows how to get a shiv and stab him in jail. Why didn't he kill him? You man up. You know how to kill 19 people. You don't know how to kill John Gotti? You could have went in his cell in the morning, stuck a pillow over his face and jammed him. Why didn't you do that? So, you know what I'm saying? Come on. Be a man. So, look, I don't want to talk about the rats anyway. I just,
what was your feeling once he went bad? What was your feeling on the street? Like you're sitting in that living room. Are you thinking, damn, I'm in trouble?
No, I believe it or not. I told you, I thought it was fake. I did not believe it was true. It took me a while before it sunk in. And then I saw a lot of guys now worried. So, I had no direct business with Sammy.